Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my prediction for the Osleys Iglesias versus Pavel Silyagin fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and feel free to join the Patreon as well. You can request any kind of combat sporting related content, or you can use the Patreon for betting tips and advice. And yeah, of course, the link will be in the description. I appreciate all the support which I've had with it so far. And let's get straight into this one. And this does seem, well, it doesn't really, I suppose, seem like a significant world title step up for Iglesias, in my opinion, but I can't discredit how he has been able to make easy work of all of his opponents he's had so far, and he's been able to get to a world title position without really kind of fighting any truly big name. And it's kind of the same with Silyagin as well. He's, just gone and picked off some highly ranked guys, both of them. They've just gone and picked up some highly ranked opponents and been able to win a couple of titles along the way. I mean, I know Iglesias has been IBO champion for a while. This is, of course, for the IBO and the vacant IBF titles. So, again, like I say, Iglesias has been IBO champion for a little while, so I've been following his career for a while. And Silyagin has picked up, I think, the IBF Intercontinental title, and I think he had the WWE Silver at one point as well. So, he's managed to find a route to go down to get a good ranked spot there as well. So, they've kind of been through similar positions in their career to get to where they are now. But again, this fight could not be for a world title. That's, how I'm looking at it. I don't feel like this is a true kind of exciting world title fight. But, you get fights like this when you have an undisputed champion who vacates the title. We have contenders go up against each other for each of the titles and each of the belts. And I mean, we've got Hamza Shiraz fighting Begic for one of the titles. And again, that isn't on paper the most evenly matched fight either. So again, this could prove me wrong. This could be a more competitive fight than I think it will be, but it's a good step up, and hopefully it's going to give the recognition for Iglesias to a world stage where he's actually gonna start to get the matchups in which he needs, because I don't feel like it's any fault of his own that he hasn't been getting these actual real big names in the division. I just don't feel like they've kind of wanted to give him that opportunity. Of course, Iglesias is a very dangerous fighter that's been shown through the amount of KOs he's had, and really he just isn't or hasn't really been a worthwhile risk for any of the big name fighters to take so far. I mean, he hasn't got a big promoter, he hasn't got a big push about him. The name isn't really that noticeable anyway, and he is just a very dangerous opponent. I feel like he should be a bigger name than what he is, because he is such a talented fighter, but again, he just isn't really been given that push so far, in my opinion. I mean, I'm surprised though that someone like Pacheco didn't put themselves in line to fight, as the sixth ranked contender. He could have put himself in line to fight for this title. I know that Troy Williamson, who's ranked fourth, I think, wanted this fight, but now he's fighting Zanchin Hoover the same weekend on the Fury Makhmudov undercard instead. So I feel like something's been discussed and sorted out there where maybe he'll get the title shot afterwards. But again, hopefully that could then be on a ring show to make a bit more sense for Iglesias, because he just hasn't really been promoted the best through either of the Tiger promotions. They work with a few fighters out in Canada, of course. Mbili, I think, is one of the other names in which they work with as well. And Mbili's been able to do well with the top ranked sign in, and now being progressed on to fighting on ring shows. Of course, he fought his last fight on the Canelo Crawford undercard, but we just haven't seen that same kind of push with Iglesias, where they've been able to really create too much of a name for him. I mean, he created a name himself just from that Shevdenko knockout, but it just, like I said, didn't really propel him into anything. And again, it could have been nice to have seen him maybe have this world title fight on an event which was bigger, like a possible like Rico versus Usyk undercard fight. This fight could have easily gone on to the Verhoeven versus Usyk fight undercard, but of course, we're not seeing it. But hopefully, he'll start to get more recognition, like I was talking about soon, because he is a quality southpaw power punching fighter who's Cuban, and I mean, he's now found his home in Canada fighting. But again, he's really a quality, talented fighter who just, yeah, isn't getting the same recognition just yet that I feel like will come in time. Silyagin, again, like I mentioned, he has gone a similar route to get this title shot. He has only fought in Russia till now and has picked up the vacant IBF Intercontinental title to get himself a good ranked spot in, again, a fight that didn't really on paper seem all that competitive. The only real notable names in which he's had on his resume, Shvedenko was one of them. Of course, we, like I mentioned, all remember the knockout in which Iglesias knocked out Shevdenko with, which was brutal. But Silyagin went to a draw with Shevdenko, which isn't really the best of looks. But he's also had a couple of fights with the IBA, who of course do a lot of work in Russia and have a lot of events there. And he fought Gongora there as well, which was a bit of a decent name as well. Gongora, that was him coming off the losses to Lerone Richards and Lester Martinez as well. So again, it wasn't the prime Gongora, who was once a really scary fighter. It was him after being beaten down on a few occasions, but nonetheless, it was an alright win for him, and that is the best win on his resume so far, I believe. Otherwise, again, he's kind of beat some well, good, I suppose, looking records, but again, fighters who you look more into their resumes, like his last opponent, and there's just nothing really there. There's no kind of meat into the actual fighters in which they're fighting. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with this, because it is a professional step up for sure. But I mean, I think from the records in which I can see from Silyagin, he has an amateur record of 300 fights. Again, I don't know how accurate that is. It is difficult to find, an exact kind of list of amateur fights for him, but he seemed to not go to the Olympics or anything like that, but he did have 300 amateur fights from what I've been told or from what I've been shown. I think he had 260 of them being wins. So again, that's pretty incredible in itself. And I know that a lot of Russian fighters and Ukrainian fighters as well, they enjoy having them longer amateur fights, and they're very active in the amateurs. So again, he could have fought plenty of good names there where, we probably don't know them as fighters who he's going up against, but they could be very skilled fighters. So again, that's of course something that's going to help with his experience. I know that Iglesias had a pretty decent amateur run as well. I don't know the exact kind of numbers for him, but I know he spent a good time in Cuba getting and picking up some good titles around that kind of area, and had quite a few fights there as well. So again, two well matched, I believe, amateur fighters. Again, I'm not all too clued up with Iglesias' amateur record. To speak about both fighters individually skill-wise though, Iglesias as a fighter, I think he holds his shape well. With the power in which he throws, he could easily square up a bit more, and if he did, he could, really be a problem because, well, really be caught out because, he is such a tall fighter, but the way that he holds his shape is very impressive. He's got that natural power, which is really destructive. Any of his punches land, they do seem to cause damage. He's always a threat as a result of that. He's accurate with his work, and something which I've noticed with him as well, even if he does miss a punch, he will kind of switch up what he's throwing to land. So say he throws a jab and it's not going to land, he will then, instead of bringing it all the way back, kind of bring it half back and then propel it out again from a bit of a different angle to then actually cause it to land. And he can do that with a variety of different punches. If a headshot's not going to land, then a hook's not going to land, he'll then try and switch it up to throw it as an uppercut. Again, it's very impressive in that way. He does work gaps in the guard very well. He springs off his right. He springs using his back foot to then throw his right very impressively. He's got good punch variety. I would like to see him go to the body more, but again, the actual punch variety to the head is good. He is got improving head movement, I think, as well. That's something which I've seen from especially his last fight, which was a decent win for him as well last time out, which was against the opponent. Oh, I don't know if I can quite remember his name off the top of my head. Who lost to William Skull before William Skull got his title shot. Shishkin, that was his name, and again, that was a good win where he was able to stop him in the 8th round. Again, in, very good punch variety shown and just quite brutal in the end, the stoppage. He, like I say, has got good improvement head movement. He's got good chopping punches when he throws them in as well. He can come through with a good uppercut as well, and he fights at a pretty controlled pace. He is typically able to control the tempo pretty well, even though Shishkin was moving quite a lot in that fight, he able to still look like he was the one controlling the tempo, which was impressive. Negatives about him, again, I would like to see more body work from him. I don't feel like he throws too many body shots, but it is a long way down for him to throw him from, the height in which he is most of the times compared to the opponents. He stands tall when he comes in close, which can, catch him out to get caught with an overhand. He can accept the back foot a little bit more than maybe he should, really. I feel like he could, with his size, actually force himself to be on the front foot a bit more. But again, it doesn't really matter all too much if he's still getting the stoppages. He's not got crazy speed or reactions. I think his reactions to getting times of shots, isn't the best. He can get time with punches. He can be caught if his jab, caught after his jab a little bit as well. He can feint a little bit too much at times and then kind of get stuck in range. Perhaps he's just being a little bit too overconfident, trying to, feint to work something, but then, he can be caught out in range, maybe being, like I say, a bit too comfortable when he's throwing, and I don't think he throws and moves all too well. Again, I feel like he's normally in quite a stationary position when he is throwing, and he doesn't always cut off the ring the best. Again, in that Shishkin fight, Shishkin was moving to get out of bad spots when he was, in a bad spot, when he was getting hurt, when it looked like the fight was about to end. And it did take him a while where it did look like Iglesias was getting a little bit tired. And because he was just chasing him around to get him out of there, and kind of forcing the stoppage a bit. And again, against a better fighter who can get hurt and can manage to deal with getting hurt and can then come back to a good position. If they can move, they can then tire out Iglesias. Silyagin, as a fighter, he keeps his distance well. He tries to manage, the range himself and tries to, like I say, keep you at kind of arm's length, which is, again, something in which he can do all right, but then he does get drawn into a bit of a firefight at times. He works off his jab well. His jab is a pretty strong weapon, and he can catch you with it when you're coming in as well. He can use that with a timed punch. He pushes through with his straight shot combinations. His straight shot combinations are good, and I've always kind of found with fighters that throw just bunches of straight shots, it can be really disruptive to opponents because, if you're throwing hooks, at least you can kind of see what's coming towards you, I suppose, and, you can see what's there. If you're getting caught with a shot around the side, obviously it's not ideal, but you still got your line of vision to the opponent, so then you can throw something back. If you're getting caught with bunches of straight shots right in front of you, then it can be very disruptive because it's blocking your vision as well. You just can't really see when to throw back. And again, that could catch out Iglesias, who maybe hasn't had to deal with that all too much. He's willing to let his hands go if he can get you on the ropes. So again, if Iglesias is backing off, he will try and punish him. Silyagin, he's not got bad movement, and he can throw and move around you. He can throw and move, which again, I've just kind of mentioned Iglesias isn't the best at. Negatives about him, he does stand up very straight, and his chin is definitely in the air with, head movement that it can be used at times, but it's very minimal, and his head does get popped back by a jab quite consistently due to the fact with him having his chin in the air and having quite an open guard to just be able to find them gaps. And he does drop his hands, and he drops his hands when he's throwing, he drops them when he's coming in, and again, it can lead to him getting caught out. I don't feel like handles high output pressure all too well. His technique and his hooks and actually being able to get them through, just being able to get through punches that aren't straight shots can be a little bit of an issue for him, and I don't feel like come with all that intent. He's not the most powerful punches, really. I mean, he's got 7 stoppages on his resume, but that is in 16 fights, and, in his recent fights, he does get the occasional knockout, but in, the step-up fights, again, like I mentioned, Shvedenko went to the decision, Gongora, I'm pretty sure, went to the decision as well, so again, it's not all that, in the power, really. He doesn't respect opponents, which isn't always a bad thing, and against a certain kind of level, that's good, but against Iglesias, I feel like you do have to respect that power a bit. And also can be quite wild in his combinations, and he can smother his work a bit as well, which again could disrupt Iglesias in a positive way. Who do I think is going to win this fight? I think that Osleys Iglesias is going to be able to win via TKO in round 5. I think he's going to be able to go out there and get quite a good stoppage here. Again, I feel like Silyagin gets caught way too much. His chin is just too exposed, and it's just going to lead him to getting caught out. Again, I don't feel like he's as physically strong as Iglesias, and I think as long as Iglesias can actually impose himself a bit more whilst keeping his shape, then I think he'll be able to, get his punches through well, find the open gaps which are pretty much there against Silyagin, and then be able to really go out there and punish him to get a stoppage victory, and again really show that he is, a proven world champion. I suppose, it will show that he's a proven world champion. It shows that he won't crumble under the pressure of fighting for a world title. But again, I don't feel like Silyagin is, going to be anywhere near the toughest tests in which Iglesias could have in the super middleweight division. Of course, who he could go on to fight next could be someone like Troy Williamson versus Zan Huber. Whoever wins that fight, Zan Chen Huber, whoever wins that fight could be a good fight. Zinad could be a fight, which is an alright one, but Zinad, he's moved down to super middleweight after having his fight with Bivol. Again, he's still ranked pretty well, maybe, but I wouldn't be all too bothered about seeing that one. Pacheco is the one that I would want to see the most, but again, I don't really know what's happening. You look at the rankings with the IBF and you see a Munguia, he's fighting Rescindes. If he wins that one, a winner of Munguia versus Iglesias could be great. Shiraz is also ranked with the IBF. Of course, he's fighting Begic for the WBO title. Again, winner of that fight, Iglesias, could be great. And I feel like stylistic-wise, an Iglesias versus Shiraz fight could be a really exciting fight. So, again, of course, with the titles all now being held by different fighters, it's a really exciting time again. And so hopefully some good matchups will be made. And Iglesias is right there to get a big shot. And I'd imagine if he does get a big shot in a unification fight, it will be against, it will be on a Ring Magazine show. I would imagine so. I feel like the Ring Magazine will give him that opportunity there. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.